Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
Fantastic, thank you.
A really beautiful song, and it's quite moving. And I've been reading some of the press surrounding this new record. I wouldn't normally ask about the press, but I think it's worth asking about that. I've seen a lot of the world, the most vulnerable album they put out yet. Charles, I'll start with you. Does it feel like something changed here?
Yeah, I mean, another one of the songs that we're going to perform, Be Patient With My Love, kind of really started the conversation about honesty on this record. I wrote that 2 years ago, and I just was going through, I don't know, a little bit of just kind of a search for, really, what my purpose was or is, a little bit more of my spirituality and all these things, and trying to kind of wrestle with, a little bit of my drinking and stuff. As musicians, we kind of tend to get a little wrapped up in all that and just the fast pace of it all. And I think it was just a really big life change for me that happened over this past year or two, and with a lot of encouragement from Dave and Hillary and my wife. And I wrote that song, and they responded so much to it. We were like, well, why don't we really chase after that? And so then all of a sudden, Hillary wrote a song called Let It Be Love. Mm-hmm. We got a song called Ocean, too, that we recorded that we didn't even write. But we started even trying to find songs from other Nashville songwriters that fit into this theme of honesty. And it just, I don't know, it really kind of led us to this spot.
I only talk about this as much as you like to. I'm not in the business of getting too personal about these things, but I have to imagine that when you have to have the sort of personal conversations, whether it's about your drinking, whether it's about just trying to own up to things in your life, it requires a level of trust with the band that's sort of like another level of the band, right? Yeah. Like you guys are a band, you do really well, you go on the road, you play shows, but then there's like another level of your trust. So what had to happen inside the band in order for you guys to have those conversations?
Working on our communication, I think figuring out where we all came from, the way we learned to communicate in our kind of the families we grew up in, and then just really being able to learn to listen and to create a safe space to share ideas and be creative, and then also have some hard conversations sometimes.
Have you ever heard of the Enneagram?
No.
It's like, okay, well, there's
like personality.
Y'all can explain. It's like personality.
Typing.
There's like 9 personalities,
yeah.
and the way they interact with each other, and we're all different numbers. I'm a 7. Dave's a
9.
A 9.
But they all have
2.
different names. Like his is like the life of the party.
The
Mine's like the peacekeeper. Hers is the helper. But it's just, we've been learning just
the way we
about like how we
communicate.
kind of look at life. And
it's not a perfect science, but it helps you kind of like even learn why maybe we react different ways. It's like a marriage.
It is. I was literally about to say it is truly a marriage, and we run a business together. We're business partners. We are, and to go into the creative space and create art, there's got to be trust, especially when you're talking about things that we're talking about on this record and the things that we've just been through. And so I think, nurturing that relationship that we have together and knowing that it is greater than the sum of its parts, it's just, we've always, I think, known that, but I think more now than ever, we're moving intentionally toward living from that space.
Yeah, I just think there's something really exciting happening in our band right now where this album couldn't have existed 10 years ago. I mean, I feel like this record has come from...
Think you guys weren't ready for it?
Yeah, I don't think we could have written this record or chosen these songs or been in this place. This record is present where we are today, what we've been going through. It's honest, it's vulnerable. There's highs and lows that have gotten us to this point as Lady Antebellum in 2019, 13 years as a band, and we tried to kind of compile that on a lot of these songs. So
I want to ask about another one of the songs here, and Hillary, maybe this is for you. I wanted to talk about What I'm Leaving For.
Yeah.
There's a line that says, got my bags packed, got my ticket, got a heartache to go with it. Can you tell me a little bit about that song?
Yeah, that song, we feel like we wrote that song because the three of us, that's our reality right now as parents. We've got 6 children between the three of us.
Oh my gosh.
I have 3 daughters, and then Dave has a son and a daughter, and Charles has a son, and so that's...
Do they all know each other? Do they all...
Oh, yeah.
We're like best friends. And our oldest all look like us.
Yeah,
like
we have mini-me's.
Mini-me's, yeah.
You guys should just retire soon.
I
Yeah,
know.
we will. Don't worry. We're going to call him Baby Antebellum.
Yeah.
We're way ahead of you. We're way ahead of you.
we're already branding it.
I'll just... 10%'s fine. Anyway, sorry, continue on. Sorry.
No, thank you. We found this song, and for me, I grew up in Nashville. Both my parents moved from their hometowns. My daddy's from South Carolina. My mom is from Texas.
Your mom's a legend, by the way.
She is.
Like in music
Thank you. For music, they both moved to Nashville and started their life there, following their dreams. And so they were both, as my mom was working on her solo career, they both were in Reba McEntire's band for like 8 years of my childhood.
Yeah, I think that's where I know your mom from. She did a duet with Reba.
Yes,
Linda
Does
Davis
Love
did a
You.
duet Reba in the early 90s. I love that song.
Yes,
yeah,
thanks.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
Keep
no.
going.
And so for me, when this song came through, I'm listening to it from two perspectives. Like, I'm the kid whose parents left, and now I'm the mom that leaves my children at home. And so, we get to bring them out about half the time, a little bit more than half. And as they grow up, it'll get easier. It's really hard to travel with 2-year-old twins and a 6-year-old right now.
Yeah.
But right now, the season is it just makes more sense for us to kind of pop out of town and come home.
Does it give a greater appreciation for what your mom and dad had to go through with you?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
100%. And they were in a band situation. I think about our band guys, who we tour with, and they all have children other than our drummer, and it's like the sacrifice that they make.
Yeah, they're really gone for a long
They're
time.
really gone, and we have the opportunity to bring our kids. So that I'm very, very thankful for that perspective. And have a lot more, I think, empathy for them more now than ever with that.
But that song too, though, I mean, when we recorded it, we couldn't help but think of, like, all the men and women that are in service, that go fight for their country or whatever it may be. And it's like, gosh, I mean, they are gone at years at a time sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, gosh.
And I feel like, as a woman, and it was interesting when the song came through, it was a male singing the lead on the demo, which was really powerful. But for me as a working mom, it was important, I think, for me to state it. And even though there's a ton of it's not like working moms is a new thing. Like,
course.
it's been forever.
Sure.
But just shining light on being able to have, it's not an either or, it's a both and. You can chase your dream and do what you feel like you're meant to do, and also be a nurturing, loving, caring wife and mother. It doesn't have to be either or.
I think a lot of people are going to get that from that song. It's a really beautiful song on the record. If you're just tuning in, Lady Antebellum is here. Right now we're talking about their new album, Ocean, that's out everywhere right now. They're going to perform another song from it in just a little bit. I gotta do this though. Can you put those things on just for a second? And I know. It's not gonna be a surprise to you. It's not, this is your life, but it's
gonna ruin our hair.
Yeah, I know. Take a listen. Go ahead.
And I wonder if I ever cross your mind. For me, it happens all the time. It's 1:15. I'm all alone and I need you now.
That's a little bit of Lady Antebellum's Need You Now. The reason I want to play it for you is because I always feel like you guys don't ever get a chance to actually hear it. You can take those off if you want, You get to sing it, you get to talk about it, but how often do you ever get to actually hear it? And I phrased it this way to a guy the other day. I said, how often do we get to hear the moments that change our lives?
Yeah, that
Wow.
song still, I mean, even listening right now, just hearing, I hear those stacked acoustics that Dave and our producer, Paul Worley, like, it's still, we just captured lightning in a bottle with that song. I mean, we didn't know what we had at the time. We barely went in and recorded. It was like the last song we chose, and I listen to it now, and I'm just like, what if we had never
my
had that
gosh.
song?
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
I know.
Charles was the one that brought it up at the very end of a meeting. He's like, remember that one we wrote? And we just had a terrible work tape of
Yeah,
it.
it was just us sitting around a crappy little phone,
Yeah.
like microphone, and we didn't really have the harmony parts worked out.
Yeah.
And it just didn't really sell itself. And we had all these beautiful worked up demos, the other songs, and luckily we played it for our team, our label, and these two girls on the A&R team were like, that.
Gotta
There's
do it.
something in there.
Yeah, man, there's something about that. Hey, I hear that story a fair bit, like,
Yeah.
more than you'd think.
Yeah.
That like the song that is the life-changing song, like Yellow by Coldplay.
Yellow.
They were on their way out to the parking lot, and Chris Martin just started singing that out loud. They went in and recorded it. There's something about. Maybe it's just when you're done.
It's something. Well, the last song, for what it's worth, the very last song on a lot of our projects, it's something when you get to the end of making a record, you kind of have some clarity too. A lot of like Just a Kiss.
This album.
What if
Ocean.
Ocean. One
I
of
was
the
gonna
last.
say Ocean was the
very last song we recorded.
Last song we recorded, and we almost didn't record it. We were like, we kind of have enough ballads, and it is, I mean, the cornerstone of this record. We feel like it really is. It's one of Hillary's best vocals I've ever, there's also a video if anybody's you need to go check out. It's for Ocean, Lady Antebellum Ocean, and we filmed it, and those were real tears. I mean, that she was shedding in that video.
The reason I brought it up, and because my next question was going to be kind of what's your relationship with it now, because it was such an important song for, as I mentioned, like you guys are one of those sort of transitional bands, the bands that can take people who say things like, I listen to everything but hip hop and country, and they can let them in,
Man.
and
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, but
Thank you.
that song is one of those things,
Thank you.
And so I wanted to know your relationship with it, but I can tell it's gratitude.
We love it. I mean, it's still in our live show the most high energy, engaged moment. I mean, it is. And we've said it so many times, we're never going to be that band that's like not going to play the songs that people know of us, the songs that they've known of ours over the years, because they all have served such a beautiful purpose in kind of the tapestry of our career, and that one being obviously the biggest piece in that. And so it's still fun to sing. I mean, I never tire it.
I never really do.
tire of
When
it.
I'm in the car and that comes on, I still have to crank it.
Turn it up. I know.
It's just there's some. I mean, we've got some other songs. Trust me, that I may turn the channel on, but that one gets cranked up.
I'm just imagining you walking down the street in Kroger or something like that, and that comes on.
The weirdest is when you're at a restaurant or bar, and then like the bartender or the owner, you can tell like they saw you come in, and then they start playing your record.
yeah.
You're like
Or-
as if you really want to hear it. And it's like, oh, now you just made me feel really awkward. Oh, now it's like, oh.
The last time I heard it, I was getting a manicure, and it's also really strange when you're somewhere that you can't leave immediately, where you're like, okay, I know I'm stuck here for at least another 25 minutes.
It's either that or like you really start jamming out to it like a little bit too enthused, You're like, whoo, check out this solo, everybody.
Or like, I have friends of mine who have had those kind of songs. They say that weddings are really bad because often there's an expectation that they'll get up and sing it, that you'll get up and do it, or something like
that's
that, and you'll
funny.
dance to it. It's an odd one. It's been really nice to talk to you. I want to get you over to play another song. But before we do, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about this. Again, I just want you to say as much as you want to say, but I know that your producer and friend Busbee died earlier this year. Produced your last album. He co-wrote All Right on this album. Have you played it for an audience yet?
We haven't.
We don't know if we'd be able to. I mean, it's the irony. It's a very up tempo, fun song.
Kind of
And
banjo-y cool song.
That's who he was.
Yeah.
Was such a positive light. I mean, I'm not saying this just because he's gone. I mean, you would walk into this. He was also one of the most challenging people. He would challenge us so hard when you were in the vocal booth. I love that they had a celebration of life, and all the artists said the same thing, and the songwriters were like, he was like your best friend until you went into the vocal booth, and he would just beat you up over because he knew how good you could be, but he was such a positive light. Every time you're in the songwriting room with him, he'd have a moment where he'd just like stop and he'd be like, "Is this not the best job? Thank the Lord we get to do this." He was a very spiritual guy, and he was just a big presence.
I think he really is a fabric of our band. I mean, we
Yeah.
started off, we wrote a song called Our Kind of Love with him on our Need You Now album.
He's had at least 10 cuts, right?
He's had a ton of cuts on our
Of ours.
records, and it was not just another songwriter relationship. He was a part of our family that we worked with so closely, so we were all so devastated. But man, his light shines on, and the lyrics on his songs shine on forever too.
But it might be hard to play the song.
Oh gosh, I mean, I haven't really listened to it, to be perfectly honest, since he passed. I mean, I think I've listened to it maybe twice, and I always turn it before it's over. It's really, he was a part of our family.
I understand that. Well, I appreciate
Yeah.
you telling the story
Of
about
course.
him. I think you're going to play another song. You think you're going to play "Be Patient with My Love"?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about it?
This, like we said earlier, this was written exactly 2 years ago.
To the day we put the record out.
We just realized that the other day. Our
It's
manager
wild.
told us that, but we were coming off of Heartbreak, the record Heartbreak, and touring, and I just felt like I was going through a little bit of just this like boredom phase, and just doing everything to excess, and
Yeah.
it was funny. We had written a really fluffy song first that we wrote really fast in like 2 hours, and I was like, guys, this isn't really going to move the needle. Let's pivot. And all of a sudden, Dave Barnes, great songwriter and artist himself, started just strumming, and these lyrics just came pouring out. And I've always found that some of our most impactful songs, like "Need You Now," just kind of came pouring out too, and they write themselves really quick. But this was hands down the most honest I've ever been in a song, and I didn't really know how Dave and Hillary were going to take it when I sent it to them. And the truth is, I don't really know if I was living the truth of this song till afterwards. I kind of wrote this before You know, because it's like, hey, I could use a little Jesus. I could do this. At that time, I wasn't really wanting any of that. I was kind of liking where I was.
That's what they can do. Hey, songs can actually bring out your subconscious.
Yeah,
you
it was
know?
like it was almost me recognizing that I needed to make some changes before I really had made them.
And what was that like for you guys to get that song?
Oh my gosh, it was. I mean, I listened to it several times in a row, and I could feel the raw vulnerability in it and the honesty, and I think I was really inspired by it, and I feel like it's the song that became the true cornerstone of this record because it was the first song that we really built the rest of the record around it. And so he set the bar so incredibly high on not only just lyrically, melodically, but also just, really encouraging, I think, and challenging us to dig deeper into our own vulnerability and willingness to be brave and raw.
So that risk was there, but it was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, trying to get back to chasing the art, not the commerce. Like when we first started, we weren't thinking about what a hit song was. We were just thinking about what moved us. And I think we've gotten a little bit there. Once you have a little success, you're like, is this a radio hit? Maybe it's not. All right, let's do this instead. And you really do have to sometimes take the business side out and just focus on the art. And then
it changes people's lives. Like music, what we get to do changes people's lives, not just ours.
Yeah.
And other artists' music has changed our lives. And I think that's been the neatest, for me personally, with this project, even being out for not very long. It's seeing even just on social media or in meet and greets, this album is starting conversations for people to dig in, to not only enjoy it for just the music, but to dig into the lyric and actually think about some things and maybe start some conversations with their spouse because Be Patient With My Love, it hits home for them or whatever song off the record. And that to me is like, those are the things that outlive us. The music will outlive us, but those kinds of things that happen within, just the conversations. It's awesome.
It is. And that's the benefit of, it's the hard part of songwriting. It's the hard part of being honest with one another, but the payoff is so.
Oh my gosh.
It's so great. Guys, it's so nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.